Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Springfield. For over 200 years, we have been preaching love and the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Here we don't expect to think alike, but to love alike. We invite you to join us in seeking truth and sharing love with our neighbors. My name is Paul. I'm one of the trustees. If you're a guest with us today, we invite you to simply enjoy being with us, and you're welcome to join us after the service for refreshments and conversation. That's it.
Do I do it first?
Yep.
This is from Deng Ming Dao. This is called leisure or leisure. I don't know how we all pronounce it, but take a listen to this.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
You good?
I'm good. YouTube decided
Too
to
many,
launch itself.
too much technology.
Yeah.
Okay. Bird chirp, vanguard for coming rain. Dog bark skitters through twilight village. Smoke raises a column through the pines. Contented families dine in golden windows. Life's pulse is gauged in the hollows, the intervals between events. If you want to see Tao, you must just discern these spaces. This requires leisure, the chance to sit and contemplate, and the opportunity to respond to inner urgings. If you can find a place to retreat, you make a life where Tao will flood into you. Out in the woods, or in the mountains, or even in small villages, where the times are slow-paced and the people sensitive to nature, there is the possibility of knowing the deep and the profound. Only when you have the time to accumulate an unshakable belief and faith can you glimpse the Tao in which there is restfulness and a natural sense of what is right. So how's everybody doing today? Anybody feel like you need a little break from things that are going on?
I do.
That's kind of what we're going to talk about today. I think for many, many years, and maybe for all time, there's been this thought that our society is one of go, go, go and racing around. And it's important to have those times when there's a break in that, where we can step back and do a variety of things like assess, just take a rest, regroup ourselves, come back from the other side. I just love that song so much. So that's some of what we're going to explore today. And of course, because I teach Tai Chi, I see everything in Tai Chi. And one of the things we've been exploring in the classes that I take, not quite yet the classes that I teach, we'll get there, Bill and Tony and Pat, is this idea that you need to retreat before you can advance, and what happens when you step back and regroup and gather yourself, and how when you are ready to step forward, you have a renewed sense of purpose to do that. So that's been pretty cool to see it in a very physical practice, but then also to know that it can fit in the rest of our lives as well. I usually have a theme for the year, personal theme, and it's been a saying this year for me that's come up again and again, and it's been everything in its own time. So instead of like pushing through and forcing something, sometimes you just have to wait for something to unfold. So all of this stuff was coming together for me, and I thought I'd come and share it with you. And then I decided too that so many different little mini subtopics came up, and this idea of rest also kept coming up for me and shows up for Matt and some music as well. So we'll talk about rest separately, so we get time to come back to that. I wanted to point you to this chapter of the Tao Te Ching in this translation by Stephen Mitchell from 1995, and I'll tell you where it gets really good for me and sets up what we're going to talk about today. So chapter 15 says, through Stephen Mitchell says, the ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There's no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing an iced over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. And here it is. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. All right, so we've got a lot of stuff to talk about here, but to kick us off music-wise in the middle here, we're going to look at 123, The Spirit of Life. This is a story. I occasionally still like doing the story for all ages. June told me that the order of service changed, and sometimes when I find a good one, I still want to share it. So we have a story today, right? Yeah. This is surrounding the historical circumstances that led Buddha to first share some of the thread stories that go back to that time. And it was shared by a 5th century Theravada Buddhist scholar who received it from this unbroken line of elders going back to the Buddha himself. This version that I'm going to share with you is told by the Mountain Hermitage guiding teacher Marsha Rose in one of her Dharma talks. Metta, it's spelled M-E-T-T-A, is the Pali word for friendship and loving kindness. It's said that Buddha first taught metta to a group of 500 monks who went into a particular and seemingly very congenial forest for their 3-month rainy season retreat. And this forest was adjacent to a village of strong supporters who offered to build 500 huts for the monks to stay in during their rainy retreat. And they were happy to keep the monks' alms bowls filled during this practice time. So the monks moved in and began practicing their meditation. It said that the unseen beings, the forest devas who lived there, became fearful of the monks, and they felt pretty put out of their home when they saw that the monks weren't just visiting for a day or two, that they had sort of set up camp there. So these forest dwellings began to create really scary sounds and even distasteful odors in the forest. And they were hoping that this would make the monks leave, because it was their forest, they believed. So soon enough, the monks became really terrified of all of this, and that, of course, broke their concentration, and it disrupted their mindfulness. So some developed fever and pain and dizziness, and they felt it was just impossible to continue practicing. So they went to where the Buddha was staying and related their tale, to which the Buddha responded, "My beloved monks, go back to exactly the same forest and practice your meditation there." And the monks responded to the Buddha's words by pleading that they not be sent back to that forest, saying it was impossible to practice there. And the Buddha said, "Dear monks, because you went there to practice meditation without a weapon of protection, you have encouraged many distractions and difficulties. This time, I'll give you a true weapon of protection." And it said at that point that the Buddha offered them the metta teaching and practice. Out of their great respect, the monks didn't dare contradict the Buddha's wishes. So armed with the metta teaching and practice, they went back to the forest, and for a while continuing to be nervous and anxious, but at the same time being very diligent and virtuously practicing their metta. Soon there were no more fearful sights or sounds, and whereas the devas had previously been hostile toward the monks, their anger and resentment disappeared when they began to feel the monks' metta. And in fact, feelings of respect, welcome, and even reverence began to be the devas' experience, along with the sense of being connected, like with family. And the inclination arose to provide an environment of safety, to protect the monks from the dangers that might be lurking in the forest, so they could practice peacefully. After recovering, strengthening, and deepening their concentration and open-hearted presence through metta, it is said that all 500 monks at some point began practicing their meditation with metta as their foundation. And it's said because they were able to practice meditation calmly and peacefully, they all became fully enlightened beings during that rainy season retreats. So what is this amazing thing? I wanted to share a version of metta or loving kindness meditation with you so you could kind of experience it. There are lots of different variations on this theme, and this is just one, but indulge me for a few minutes and see what you think about this. I feel like the idea behind this in the case of putting this all together with the retreat theme today is it can be scary to step away and be in quiet. Those thoughts come up, the feelings come up, our own insecurities and fears and all that stuff arises when it's quiet, when we don't have something to do. So the idea is for me today, sharing this with you, is it gives you something to focus on. So let's give it a try. So I encourage you to settle in your seat, maybe, root down a little bit. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, you can do that. You can gaze out into the distance. You can maybe look out a window. Just allow yourself a few moments to be guided and not have anything in particular that you need to do for this very moment. You might begin to notice your breath, however it's patterned today, what the inhales and the exhales feel like, without any judgment. Just sit with that for a moment. And as you become aware of your physical body, to yourself, repeat the following words. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be happy and at ease. May I be filled with love and kindness. If your mind starts to wander, just bring it back to your body and your breath. You don't have to remember the exact words, but maybe just the feelings that these words evoked in you. Next, bring to mind somebody who you really care for, who's been there for you, who's been a source of unconditional love and support for you. Spend a few moments really seeing this person in your mind's eye, picturing what they might be wearing, what they might look like standing in front of you. And once again, repeat these statements to yourself. May we be safe. May we be well. May we be happy and at ease. May we be filled with love and kindness. Again, if you get distracted, visualize the person and the feelings of being safe, well, happy and at ease, and love and kindness. And finally, bring to mind somebody who you don't know very well, who you might consider a stranger, but somebody who you encounter, like a store clerk or somebody, a neighbor you don't know very well, sort of a neutral person. And imagine sharing the love and kindness created in the bond you have so far by repeating the same statements to yourself, this time directed to this person. May you be safe. May you be well. May you be happy and at ease. May you be filled with love and kindness. Again, if you're distracted, safe, well, happy and at ease, love and kindness. Again, bring your attention to your body, where it's seated, where you are in space in relation to the others in the room. Notice your breath. And then come back into the room, maybe by blinking your eyes open or finding a focused gaze again. Feel free to move your body in any way that feels good. Shrugging shoulders, moving out fingers. And know that you can do this type of meditation in this way when you feel like you need a little bit of extra support. By sending that same support and love to somebody else, you yourself may also feel that web of connection and a little more comfortable in being in your quiet.
Good morning. Will you recite with me our affirmation, which is up there, or as Sharon says here? Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve the needs of all beings, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the source of our being. Thank you. So today, our June Share the Plate, the social action circle, has chosen for us to help sponsor a family center, Springfield supported housing joint fundraising event on June 28th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Springfield Elks Club. We are invited to be a part of a family-friendly event featuring live music, a silent auction, a 50-50 raffle, and delicious food. These organizations provide housing support for individuals and families in need and food assistance for those experiencing food insecurity. Our goal is to raise at least $125 for this worthy cause. Bill Brink and Matt Meserve will be part of the music lineup. Tickets are $20 each or 2 for $30, and to contact the Springfield Family Center for more info. So please give as you are willing and able for the ongoing work of this community and the family center. Question, what?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
This $125 is this group, not the whole thing at the Elks Club. Us, we are going to raise
We would like to, we as a church, a community, would like to raise 125. Yeah. I think we're doing the song number 65, The Sweet June Days.
We are. No, that's in the gray one.
It's golden, it's all bright.
Can everybody see that? You don't need to look at it, but it helps me stay organized. Can you believe it's June already? It just seems like it came out of nowhere. This is always the time of year that I think about the forms of actual physical retreat that I can do. And so I wanted to share a little bit about this practice of retreat with you, and also to give away some of the secrets of things that I did when I could not get away due to my caregiving duties. So you can actually retreat even when you don't physically leave where you are. So first we have to talk about what exactly a retreat is and what we mean when we use that word. It has actually quite a few meanings. First is the act of moving back or withdrawing, sort of the military idea of retreat. A quiet or secluded place in which one can rest and relax. That sounds pretty good to me. As well as a period or a place of seclusion for the purpose of prayer and meditation. That's often used when we talk about meditation retreats, yoga retreats, prayer retreats. And an act of changing one's mind or plans as a result of difficulty. And I kind of felt like all of these things were at play or in play right now, given how a lot of us are feeling. We're feeling in the middle of a lot of different things that are going on, kind of can't get our footing, and also have this sort of sense of, if I stop, everything's going to fall apart. So I just better keep going or keep swimming or paddling or floating or whatever it is that you're doing. So I kind of felt like all of these things were happening instead of it just being a nice time to take a vacation. Like the stakes have been raised for a retreat this year. So while you could use any of those single reasons for a reason why you could use time to step away, I think it's helpful to determine, individually and personally what we have going on. So, what would be the why for you to take a retreat? Some people take time away from their daily routine to learn a new skill, to specifically learn how to do something, and to have the time to work with a teacher, an instructor, a master, to learn something new. You can commit to a practice. A lot of times during a daily routine, it's very hard to start something that you want to bring into your life. So by creating a break, learning that thing and having time to practice it in a certain environment, you can bring it home and incorporate it, and it seems a little bit easier. But I kind of like these other two, to see something in a new light. So by stepping away, it sort of lets you be a little more objective, and to clear some smoke, clear the mud, maybe, as Stephen Mitchell said from the Tao Te Ching, and find a little clarity. And then again, there's nothing wrong with just taking a break. You're so busy, you have so much going on that you need that time to take a break. So it can be all of these things. And maybe it's helpful to take a moment, we won't do it now, but for you to take this question home with you and think about what would serve you for making a break in your routine and having a retreat. Break the routine. I keep using those terms because that's really what you do when you step back. By creating a break in a routine, something that we do every single day, going to work, getting certain meals prepared, whatever your day looks like, you can affect real change, because it sort of upends everything that you've been doing probably mindlessly for a period of time. It lets you look at that in a new light. And it gives you the opportunity to add in a new habit as well. So there might be something new that you want to bring into that, but just trying to sneak that in during your day-to-day can be challenging. So by shaking everything up and bringing in something new, it might be a little bit easier to do something like that. Before I go on, the thing that works for me when it comes to that break in the routine, I try to do every month during the waning moon, a digestive reset for a day or two. It's an Ayurvedic practice where you eat a very simple meal of mung beans and rice. And it's really boring. It's flavorful. I love the first time I eat it, like my first meal. And then by the end of the second day, I'm angry at everybody and I want my chocolate again. But I find that especially a 2-day version of that is really the thing that gets me back to being able to resist eating so much sugar, because I can very easily get on a sugar train. So I find that once a month I say, oh, okay, now I can kind of clear everything out and start from scratch. So that's something that works for me as a break in the routine. The next one is a time to reset yourself. So this gives you time and space to try practices that bring you back to yourself. I feel like, especially now, when we're in an environment that tends to be a little more than a little divisive, and when we're challenged about our beliefs frequently, to take the time and step back and just check in and say, wait, is that really how I feel? Or, okay, this thing happened in my gut. Does that feel good to me? Or does that feel, does that feel like this isn't a good thing that's happening? Most of the time I feel like I'm on track, especially right now with how I'm carrying myself in public and what I feel internally. But it's useful to do that, especially if something isn't so black and white to you. So I offer that as an option to you. And it's kind of good because we have this idea that we know what's right, or we know what's healthy for us in theory. We all know the things that we should be doing. But this, having a retreat time lets you practice it and try it out and maybe incorporate it into your life. It's really easy, and I'm really good at this, to just say, oh yeah, I can do that. That's easy. I can do that. And I never incorporate it into my life. But having a break in the routine and shifting things and changing things lets you try something new that way. It also lets you have insights with other people in sort of a controlled environment. Now, sometimes you might be going on a personal retreat out in the woods on your own for a couple of days. This would be a little bit different. In that case, you'd really have the conversation with yourself. But often during community retreats, you have the opportunity to talk to other people. And it's a great chance in a relaxed environment to hear what some other people think about things and to talk ideas through. Those conversations can be really meaningful. And the fact that you're doing it sometimes over multiple days can be useful to really dig into things. And I don't know who said this particular quote, but I think there's different versions of it. We may not be able to change all that's going on in the world, and we can't change other people, but we can change how we respond. So it gives us time to think about how we want to respond. And that can often lead to fresh perspectives where you know your boundaries, that checking in with, does this feel good to me? Does this feel like moral and right and just to me or not? It lets you reestablish those boundaries for yourself. And one of my favorite ways to do this is through nature. I already mentioned community, but nature has a way of bringing new perspectives to us. Things are very circular and seasonal, obviously, and they go on a path in nature, and they just are the way they are. And in a way, when you get out in the woods, everything sort of seems okay for the time that you're out there. And that being present in that natural environment can be one of the best things to help reset, not just how you feel about something, but your nervous system as well. And finally, hopefully with all of this, you walk away with a sense of calm. You're physically stepping away from noise. You might be moving into a quieter environment when you do this, and then moving toward that thing that feels really good for yourself as well. I think it could take a whole other service to explain how to bring that stuff into your daily life, because that is really challenging, to transition from being in this beautiful place of nirvana wherever your retreat is, and then to bring it home and to feel good and incorporate those things that you learned. But that can come later. The good thing is, believe it or not, this is a good thing. When you can't take a break, there's some real like gems in here if you can't take a break. I twice in my life had large stretches of time where I was the main caregiver for somebody, where everything fell on me for an extended period of time. And if you've ever been in that position, it is hard. It is long. There is no end to that. It's not like, oh, I have this 2-hour meeting to get through. This is maybe 6 months from now, my life will be normal again, or maybe not. It could be even worse, right? It's very hard. So it was during those times that I learned to find little pockets during my day to take care of myself and to retreat. There was no way I was going to Bali or some tropical island or to get away, even say to the Cape for 2 days or something like that. I could not leave these people who depended on me. And I found respite behind a bathroom door when my mom was taking a nap, when I was taking care of her, when she was going through Alzheimer's, for 30 seconds. And I'm like, this is what I got. This is what it looks like. I am so grateful to have a couple of moments to take this clear breath and put some things in perspective, how things went this morning, to take a glass of water, nice clear glass of water, wash my hands. Washing your hands is like a really great clearing exercise. Wash my hands, splash water on my face, and be ready to walk out the door and be ready to face her again. I mean, that was my retreat. So I encourage you to look for little moments like that, whether you're, caregiving, which is a huge responsibility and not everybody's there, or your schedule maybe just doesn't allow you the time to get away. I encourage you to look for those little tiny moments. Another one of my favorite ones even now is to just step on my front porch and just take a couple of breaths out in the air. It literally takes a few seconds. And I don't know, I was gonna say, some people would say it doesn't compare to a tropical vacation, but I really like where I live, and I love, seeing the nature around me, and I sort of would kind of prefer to be here. So you might feel that way too. There's this whole thing about put your oxygen mask on first and take care of yourself first. And there really is truth to that, because if you're not around and you're taking care of anybody else, if something happens to you, they're in trouble too. So that really is important. But I came across this interesting thing, and I don't know if anyone else is familiar with it. I think it was in Wayne Muller's book on Sabbath, that when Jesus needed a break, he just walked out of the room. He didn't line a babysitter up for the people that were following him, which I thought was really interesting. And I just don't see that happening in my life, where I could just walk out of the room and drop all my responsibilities. But I thought that was interesting. And I think his point was that, find the way that you can take care of yourself that works for you. I mean, I can't imagine just walking out on people, but interesting concept. And maybe if you're somebody who reads scripture, you can look for that and come back and let me know where you find that in scripture. Curious. If you can't take a break, these tiny habits, I've talked about washing hands. Here's one you can try with me right now. Just brushing off. Just something really stressful just happened to you, and literally just brush it off. And take a moment and notice how your hands feel. Notice if you're because a lot of us had stuff on our shoulders, carrying stuff on our backs. Notice if those places on your body feel a little bit clearer and lighter. We did some mindful breathing during meditation. So that's another way. I like to call it a 30-second retreat, where you can do it with me here if you'd like. just put a hand on your heart if you're comfortable doing that. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. I wanted to have a stopwatch with me, but I don't. I can't see if there's a second hand on that clock. But let's just take a moment in silence. I don't know how long that was. But even just a moment in between tasks like that can have an effect of clearing as well. And I often find too, when I say, I'm just gonna give myself like 5 seconds to do this, I say, oh, 5 more seconds, 5 more seconds, you know, because it feels that good. But remember that meditation. When things get quiet for us, that's when ooh, don't forget, you got to do that thing today. And when you go to the store, you get, like, all that stuff starts to bubble up. So it can help to try, may I be at peace? You're like, everything's cool. I'm in 5 seconds, I'll be back. You know, give yourself the opportunity to step away like that. I talked about stepping out into nature, and Thich Nhat Hanh has an app, the Plum Village app. I was shocked, but it's very cool. There's lots of meditations and things like that on there. But the main thing I use it for is it has a bell that goes off once an hour. And it's the point is to remind you to take a breath, to stop, to regroup. And I have really found it useful lately in, again, the idea that I've gotten so down into a way of thinking, or you know, those arguments you have in your head with the other side, with the other people. You have all the, well, they'll say, and then I'll say, and it'll go like this, and we'll get into, and I find myself in this kind of like hole. So that bell lets me pull myself out of the hole. Oh yeah, I'm standing here. I'm doing this. I'm in this present moment. Okay. Oh yeah, that thing, I'll put that aside for now. Or I might decide to go back in with a fresh perspective. So you can do that with anything. If there's a bell that you hear, or every time your notifications go off on your phone or something like that, there's lots of different ways you can do that. It's pretty cool. Of course, bigger, longer retreat options. You know, you could start with a day-long or half-day workshop on something that interests you. You can plan a vacation with other people or on your own. There's lots of options for organized group outings, but the point always is to include a little bit of quiet time, to build that quiet time in. Because if you just go from your crazy busy life into a crazy busy retreat where you learned a new skill and it requires you to buy a whole bunch of new stuff and go home and now you have something else to do, it's kind of defeating the purpose. So make sure that there's a little bit of quiet time. So I've been doing this sort of thing since 2019, making sure that I take my own type of retreat. And this year I'm going to Quebec in August for a weekend. I've been invited to be a special guest with a colleague of mine who's an osteopath and pain care educator. And, you know, this weekend includes the guided journaling, community time, all of the stuff that I've kind of been talking about, mindful movement. And I look forward to this focused time away because I know that that's when I can give myself what I need as well. So if you are interested, this is what I'm doing for myself. Usually one of these a year am I able to do. So I'm curious if anybody has had any interesting retreat experiences, if they've had quiet time like that, or even if those couple of moments of stepping away, if they're able to do that in their lives. Anybody got anything to share about anything? Yeah.
I went one time to the Weston Priory for like a long weekend. And it was really interesting. I was able to attend any of the services that I wanted to. And they have them like early in the morning to like 8 PM in the evening. And it was really interesting to just be by myself. And then all meals were quiet. Well, actually, it was quiet for the bulk of the time that we were eating. And then after a certain period of time, then you could talk. So that was interesting, not to, be like constantly like this. So I liked it.
The quiet meals thing is very interesting. I did that at Kripalu myself a couple of years ago, and I knew that it would be, again, it's gonna be really scary, and it's gonna be awkward too, because people are looking at you and you're eating and they're eating, and how is this whole thing gonna go? But I think like once you set that aside and just get over it, and then I find too that everything seems it seems like you have all this time, like time expands kind of in that sort of quiet. And everybody's doing the same, like we're all in the same boat, sitting in this room, all eating together, feeling awkward, like it's okay, it's interesting, an interesting way to get over those little fears that we have. So that's great, good for you.
And I was, this is not a retreat thing, but I was thinking that I don't take care of somebody like you were taking care of somebody, but my own life has changed so much. And so I take care of myself. And I was thinking of, just when I feel like I can't do something that I used to do, or, something like that, I have to think for myself that I can just take a break.
Oh, yeah. We forget that we can do that. Like we have it in our heads that we must keep going in a certain way for a certain amount of time. And yeah, there's a lot of societal stuff in there about expectations and that sort of thing. Yeah. And I am one who believes that we are all caretakers. We are all taking care of, whether it's other animals or we're teaching, or we have certain responsibilities. There are some ways that we are all taking care of other people. And, we all have some sort of family, biological or otherwise. And yeah, there's responsibilities there we just don't think about.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anne Marie wants to talk.
Oh, yeah. Do I have to do?
No, I got it.
Hey, Anne Marie.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Joe. This is great. So just sort of like what do they say? To be clear, to be out, or to be whatever, truthful. I ran retreats for about a dozen years for women. And what a gift it was to have that time. It was like a whole weekend. And it was in a Shaker village in Alfred, Maine. And so it was a very sort of sacred space, because it had for hundreds of years had people walking the grounds and the orchards and praying and meditating. So it had a whole sense of just really slowing down everything and turning everything off and sinking in. And I also, in my late 30s, when my children were now school age, I used to take a weekly, not quite a whole week, but I would take about 3 or 4 nights away at one of the convents on the beaches in Maine. So when they went back to school, I would give myself a couple of days to sort of resuscitate and be on my own. But having experience also with times when you cannot take a moment to yourself, it feels as though you are caretaking everyone. That would have been when I was running a daycare and going to night school and that sort of thing. So what did I do? I took these 2 little things I'll just mention real quick. When I was driving to school or anywhere doing errands, and I came to a stop sign, I would actually very consciously just take a nice deep breath all the way down into my belly and just let it out before I started the car through, again, paying attention to the road and so forth. that was a great relief. And it was a great practice because my body got used to, with one very deep breath and letting the air out, actually letting go of stress. And it still works really well for me. So, and that the another one, and I taught this one to my kids, very simple. If you happen to be able to step outside the door and it's a sunny day, look up at the sun with your eyes closed. It's very important to have your eyes closed, and center the sun right on the middle of your forehead and breathe it in. And I usually, if I can, take 3 breaths. And I call that my 3 breath vacation from my life. Just thought I'd share those things.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Those are great. Yeah, the stop sign one is good because it's something you sort of do regularly, right? Like, you know, we come to a stop sign. I had this habit when I was caring for my mom of I got all the balls in the air. I got this. Everything's good. Look at me. I'm in control. I'm taking care of everybody. And I would run certain errands on the way to visit her in another state. And so I'd, be getting in and out of the car. And I finally realized that by stopping just for a moment before I got into the grocery store, that I wouldn't forget something. Because usually I'd go in the store and I'm throwing things in my cart and I'm racing, I'm looking at my watch, and I'm going to be there. But if I just take the moment, where we all think if you take a moment, everything's going to fall apart and I'm going to lose my train of thought, actually things become a lot more clear. So those are really good examples of that. Anne-Marie, thank you for sharing those. Yeah.
Certainly the best and most healing retreat that I ever experienced was the 4 years that I spent sleeping outside.
No doubt.
Amazing. And I do it occasionally now, but with ticks, when I did it 40 years ago, ticks were not an issue. But even in the winter, it was absolutely amazing. And no tent, just when it rained or snowed, I'd go in the knee off. But it was amazing, and it healed a lot of things.
I'm sure.
How about mosquitoes? Is that a problem? Not on the farm. Really? Yeah.
You'll have to tell us more about that. There's a whole service, at least in some of those experiences. Yeah, thank you.
I take little micro retreats when I'm at work, because I am caretaking. I take
Yes,
care
you
of
are.
my customers
Yep.
by making sure they have what they need. Part of what I need to take care of them is labels for my cheese packages. And if I have to stop because I ran out of the stickers and have to go make copies, it's like, wow, more. I run back to the office, I put it in the machine, but while it's copying, I just draw energy on a tip from my chiropractor, starting at my feet, draw all the way up, and I feel my whole insides open, and I go, ah. Then my copy's done, and I'm ready to go back to work.
That is lovely. And it's built in because you have to wait, right,
Yep.
for this thing to be done. I
Yep.
love that. I love that. Thanks, Lynn.
I was very fortunate to have 2 years as a novitiate, and where we prayed, we spent time by ourselves. And I often that was in my youth. I often thought how wonderful it was to have that experience, and I wish more people could have done something like that. We had campfires, and we would sit around, learn how to play the guitar, we would sing songs. Mostly in those days, it was songs in the 60s. And and we had the quiet meals, like you said. And sometimes we had the quiet meals and somebody would read.
Yes.
It was very nice, like Tina said, her experience, but it was 2 years of that. And I'd also like to add, being in the recreation business for so many years, recreate. I understand what that. As soon as they cross the border into Vermont, just being in Vermont is such a wonderful time away, and I experienced their joy in coming, and it's been so many years of that, people coming and doing love listening that you said.
It's such a gift to be able to
Yeah,
see
it
people
was.
enjoy
yeah.
that time
Oh,
outside.
yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
I'll just
Yeah.
go real quick. So I take countless 3 to 10 breath breaks throughout the day. My work with the state of Vermont is very detail oriented, but sometimes there's a lot going on. So, you know, if I rush through, I tend to make mistakes. So my boss has all these sayings from his grandmother, and one of them was, when you're in a hurry, take your time.
That's true. I know, and we think if we stop, you know, I'm gonna waste 30 seconds where I could get more stuff done. And it is really magical how by slowing down, there's more time all of a sudden. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's great. Thanks. All right. Thank you all for sharing and for listening. I appreciate it. And I don't know what's next for a song. Oh, simple gifts.
Number 6.
I think we probably don't even need to look at the book for that. So thank you all for your different shares and things that have come up for you. I appreciate, and I love seeing the connections that are made. I think that's the best part of coming here. I found in our hymnal, in the back, well, it says like Seasons and Cycles, the World of Nature, number 547. I just thought this was a perfect reading to encapsulate everything we talked about today. And it is sort of done as, it's not really a call and response, but we have a part that we can say together, and that's the part in italics. And I went back and forth to try to decide, do I make you wanna do, you know, do you guys gonna wanna do this by the end of this? And I thought it'd just be a nice way for us together to do this. So I'll read what's in Roman type, and we'll all read what is in italics.
What's
So
the number again?
547.
Thank you.
It's called Summer Meditation. Now blows the wind with soft, relaxing warmth. The sun beats down, the schools are out. Children swarm in the playgrounds and the streets, and eager city folk, vacation bound, crowd the broad highways. Lakes and seashores lose their solitude, and all the world seems turned to carnival. What of ourselves? There could be now deep peace, a time for soul searching. We might turn to examine our own lives, to sort and probe our tendencies of thought, to sift the true from false in the things of doubt, the beautiful from ugliness unmarked. The sun beats down, it is a time for pause. Even the trees seem resting for a time, as if to meditate and gather strength for the more strenuous times that lie ahead. And shall not we hear the unfinished clay, half molded, that still waits on us? to think what we have been and as we are, still yet have to become. Thank you.